the leg side and fielded by Sham Massoud. And Saranga Lakmal is indeed removing his sleeveless sweater, so he'll take over from Nick Potts at the racecourse end with Sussex on 57 without loss, all 16, Haynes 40, and they still trail by 274. Billy Goldman. Four, 5 over best, especially the seamers run, not so much the spinner.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of runs to play with, haven't they, as you said.
Lucky job.
And yeah, maybe Lakmar preferred this end. He seemed to.
रन रेट इस वक्त आगे हो चुका है जनाब 4.7 का पार्टनरशिप इस वक्त हो चुका है 57 रन की मिनट्स हो चुके हैं 60-57 रन विकेट को गिरा नहीं है 14 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है इस वक्त बहुत ही बेहतरीन क्रिकेट इस वक्त जारी
That's the start of the T20.
बहुत ही शानदार तरीके से इस वक्त जारी 14 ओवर्स का खेल मुकम्मल हो चुका है 57 रन ऑन द बोर्ड विकेट कोई गिरा नहीं है एजीएच और इस वक्त मौजूद हैं 16 रन बनाकर जबकि टीजे हाइन इस वक्त 40 रन बनाकर मौजूद है 47 गेंदों का इस वक्त सामना किया है उन्होंने रन रेट इस वक्त 4.02 का मिनिमम रिमेनिंग ओवर है इस वक्त जनाब 81.5 ओवर्स रिमेनिंग है अभी तक 57 रन्स और विकेट को गिरा नहीं है 15वें ओवर का खेल जारी है वेलकम करते हैं आपको आज के इस बेहतरीन काउंटी के चैंपियनशिप मैच में जहां पर इस वक्त डर्बीशायर वर्सेस ससेक्स का ये मुकाबला इस वक्त जारी है और इस वक्त मैच बहुत ही बेहतरीन तरीके से इस वक्त जारी है विकेट कोई खोया नहीं है और क्रिकेट की बात करते हैं तो लाइव डर्बीशायर वर्सेस ससेक्स का ये मैच जनाब इस वक्त आप सब लोगों के सामने इस वक्त जारी
Mid on. There's a third man. pushed out into the offside by Hind.
Much better line and length,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
A real loosener. You don't see him bowl around the wicket that often, Anujdal, from memory. I'm not basing that on anything factual, you understand? I seldom base anything on anything factual. All opinion. All a bit right, of course, but it's all opinion.
Of course.
Yeah. Never knowingly wrong. Here he is again, Dal, and that one is pushed out into the offside by Haynes.
Something you'll see him with, see him as a lot with going around the wicket, something I've noticed. I mean, here it would be because of the left-handed batsman in, but especially left-armers. A lot of left-armers coming around the wicket these days. To right-handed batters, think it's a pretty good plan.
Then they'll get used to it and you'll have to think of something else, right? That's the problem, these batsmen. Blimey. This one is pushed ahead to the offside by Haynes. Again, there's no run.
In quite tight there, aren't they, covering mid-wicket? I think it's because they have been sneaking a single quite comfortably, haven't they? So I think it is wise just to push them in. I mean, they've got protection both on the off and the leg side with sweepers out, so no harm in squeezing a little bit.
The other one slipped for Anujdal, which is fairly standard really for the second change bowler, and that one is played a little hurriedly into the leg side. Like Mal just walks very slowly towards the ball at mid-off to do the fielding. It's not quite drifting at the moment, but there doesn't appear to be a massive amount of urgency. There's certainly no panic. 272 is Derbyshire's lead, and of course they have the insurance of being able to bat again should they be required to do so. That would be some effort from Sussex if they could make Derbyshire bat again.
Yeah.
Getting out of this game looks an impossible task at this stage.
Would require a few top scores, I reckon. A couple centuries, and looks like there could be just a drinks break.
The drinks break, yeah. Oh, they must be absolutely exhausted, the poor loves. Let's have a look at the scores elsewhere then, shall we? Whether I'm just waiting for Adrian to do his update for Radio Sussex. They've got a football match on, so and I know that you really can't demand to go on as a cricket commentator when there's the old King football knocking around. Kent are 168 for 5, trailing Lancashire by 338 at Canterbury. Sussex now 34 for 6. They need another 50 runs to beat Somerset in what is turning into quite a thrilling game. And Gloucestershire trail Yorkshire by 141. They're 8 for 1 in their second innings. Hampshire dismissed just a few moments ago for 223 trail Surrey by 244. Like Mal about to start a new over. Nottinghamshire, oh dear, 6 for 2, trailing Glamorgan by 71 at Trent Bridge. As Lackmal is in and bowls outside the off stump, left alone by Orr to go through to the keeper. And Leicestershire, 196 for 5 now. They trail Durham by 232, their first target. Obviously to avoid the follow-on mark. And then that game will progress after that. Here, Sussex 59 without loss, following on. They've been bowled out for 174 in their first innings. Derbyshire making 505 for 8 declared. You listen to BBC Sussex and BBC Radio Derby. Grace Ballinger.
Close. Close.
Ballinger.
Ballinger.
Ballinger. Oh, I knew I'd get it right. I'm going to put it's a soft G. The soft G. I don't know what you pay. Yeah. Grace Ballinger. And Dave Fletcher. I'm sorry.
I get a lot of different variations.
Oh, I know, but it doesn't make it right, does it? It doesn't make it right. You can't get your name right. I did ask. It was one of the first things I asked you.
I think it might have been the first
Yeah,
thing.
it might have been. Exactly, absolutely. Alexander's just woken up in the United States, accidentally hit the panic button. Saw the score and didn't do any maths. Yeah, no panic, Alexander, at this early stage. 59 without loss, Sussex. Ali Orr on strike. And the next delivery from Lackmell's down the leg side. Good stop, diving away to his right by Brooke Guest. See, the longer, this is going to get awkward, but the longer Adrian is away, the more tricky it makes. I have to be on this every half hour. I don't want to kick him off after 20 minutes, so I'll have to formulate a plan. I'll try and work one out.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Well, Sure. I think I've got it. Here's Lackmel. Sixth over. And outside the off-stump, left alone by Alior to go through to Brooke Guest. Yeah, I think this is what we'll do. Adrian will come back and replace you, and then after I've done my half pass, you can replace me.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's good.
You like that?
Yeah, it's a great plan.
I'm not a big one for plans, I've got to say. I don't think I've really had much of a plan for my entire life. Just drifted along happily, in total ignorance most of the time, as Lackmel bowls to Orr, who defends it into the onside. Lewis Rees comes in to do the fielding. There's no run.
I reckon Lackmel's look a bit more aggressive from this end.
Yeah, I think he looks more comfortable at this end, which is clearly why he picked it in the first place. I assume he had a go from both ends in practice and thought, no, I fancy the race course end.
Never ideal when both the opening bowlers want the same end.
No, that's a bit tricky, isn't it? It's a bit tricky. They'll have to alternate or something. I don't know what they'll do. Ask one of them. We better to ask Connors, I think. As Orr waits, that was left alone outside the stump. Good carry through just above waist height to Brooke Guest. End of the over. 59 without loss. Sussex, that was another maiden over for Saranga Lackmel. I think he's bowled 2 overs, 2 maidens from the racecourse end since he came back. Overall, he's bowled 6 overs, 3 maidens, 0 for 13. So economical as he was in the first innings, but still Derbyshire waiting for that breakthrough. Sussex trail by 272.
Yeah, it does look like he's getting a nice bit of carrying through the racecourse end, as you say, and I think looking at the way he's bowling could be potential for a snick off from one of the batters, but they seem to be pretty patient at the moment, leaving it alone outside off, but if they do flash at one, I think could be into the hands of Brooke Guest or one of the slip fielders.
Adrian's starting to get restless next door. You can tell he's now standing and moving from foot to foot. We will bring him in shortly, as and when he's ready. Here's Anuj Dal around the wicket from the City end bowls. That was pushed out into the offside for a single by Haynes, who moves to 43. This is Sussex's highest score of the match so far. Didn't have anybody to reach a half century in the first innings. 41 from Haynes, 22 from Mohammed Rizwan, and 21 from Ollie Carter. So improvement already from Sussex. Here he comes, look, here he comes. Oh, he's just raised his eyes to the sky. Dahl around the wicket balls. That's clipped into the leg side by Orr. Pick up a single as Lear's deployed. Doesn't seem to be showing any ill effects on it about his hand anymore.
It's also fielding at deep square with the fielding pads on, which are interesting.
You wouldn't do that through choice, would you?
No.
We're going to implement our plan now. See? Well, you don't need to know. Grace has already grasped the plan. She will be back. She'll be back very shortly indeed. No, it was a bit slightly complicated, but not complicated, if you know what I mean. So Adrian will come back and alongside us as Haynes defends this next delivery from Dahl out into the offside. And there is no run. I'd say that first spell was a success, Grace, wouldn't you? Your first spell, success? Happy with that? Yeah, good. Everything's working nicely. Everything's working nicely.
Good stuff.
Here's Dahl around the wicket. And that one is driven legibly out into the offside by Haynes. He'll just pick up a single as Lewis Rees picks up out and covers, and there's no run. So I'll go till my update at past, and Grace will jump in here, and you two will take it through till lunch, and I'll come back for the 1 o'clock.
Wonderful. Make sure you don't eat all the lunch.
Well, no, I'll have to come back before I go for lunch, so you've tied me in here.
Good. Sussex making a better fist of it this time
I think your
around.
correspondents will be quite pleased with the way things are going at the moment.
Yeah, I think they will. A couple of emails have come in this morning, which I'll read as we go through.
2 more balls left of this Dahl over. That one's turned into the leg side. A bit of a chase around the boundary for Lear's deploy. They go through for a single.
I guess the watchword for Derbyshire is patience. But you know, it's looked a terrific pitch to bat on, Dave, and it still looks the same. I mean, the odd one has kept a bit low, but I mean, all in all, it's a super batting surface, really.
Thompson was getting some turn, so I expect we'll see him again before lunch. I'd be surprised if we didn't. Dahl's final ball around the wicket is driven very pleasantly out towards the cover boundary. They're going to come back. No, they're not going to come back for a second because, well, Ali Orr fancied it, but Haynes had turned his back on him.
Yeah.
64 without loss at the end of the over. Orr has 18, Haynes has 45, and Sussex trail by 267.
He's quite an athlete, Ali Orr, and he's very quick across the ground. So I think Tom probably thought, I'll just stick with a single on this occasion. Bit of a chatter going on there with some of the senior players there. I can see Luckmal is down there, Billy Godleman.
That's Wayne Madsen he's talking to there,
yeah. So sort of the brains trust maybe in this Derbyshire side, just working out how they can maybe dislodge one of these two. I think Sussex, yesterday was abject, wasn't it? It was a really poor batting performance. But today, I mean, Sussex by no means out of the woods. I mean, there was 62 without loss yesterday and bundled out for 174. But they have been positive this morning. I think that's a good sign. And I wish I'm going to touch wood a lot here because I thought Tom Haynes looked really good yesterday, but he's looked terrific today. He's on 45 and he's going to face Luckmal, who's running in from the racecourse end of the ground. He comes in over the wicket and bowls, and Haynes, just as I say, while he's playing, he came forward to ball, and I thought for one awful moment he was going to play it onto his own stumps, but the ball dribbles out into the offside, and there is no run. Clive has been in touch. Hello, Clive. Clive Jacobs. He says, hello, Adrian. The Sussex batting was just abject. Backing youth is fine if the players learn from their mistakes, but too often in recent years, spectacular collapses have been far too regular. The arrival of two overseas players who it was hoped would bolster the batting failed to make any meaningful contributions first time around, so there is room for improvement all around. Well, just the one slip in place. Runs in and bowls, and Haynes is beaten outside the off stump. That was a good delivery by Luckmal, just teasing and tempting Haynes outside of the off stump. And Tom Haynes comes down and does a bit of guarding. He goes on to say, as you said, Adrian, losing is a habit, and it seems that Sussex have lost the winning habit. He goes on to say, I did enjoy Fletch coming off a long run yesterday when he discussed the 100 and centrally contracted players not playing county cricket yet. Fletch is on the money, and it is too much to hope the ECB will have either heard him or, if they have, act on what he said.
They might get sacked if they heard me.
My regards, CJ. Thank you, Clive, for getting in touch. You too can get in touch, join our conversation. As in comes Luckmal over the wicket bowls. Haynes is forwards, or ball well pitched up, plays it straight back down the track. There is no run. Sussex Cricket at bbc.co.uk. I didn't hear you talking about that yesterday, Fletch. I was probably doing an update. But yeah, I mean, it's quite extraordinary the amount of. I mean, certainly, I discussed this with James yesterday. No Anderson, no Broad, no Robinson. I think Robinson wouldn't have played in this round of matches anyway, but
ridiculous.
No Saqib Mahmood for Lancashire. It does seem very odd.
Exhausted.
In comes Luckmal over the wicket bowls. Haynes is forward and punches that into the covers filtered by deployed.
The worst ones for me, sorry Adrian, the worst ones for me is that Jimmy Anderson, who didn't even go to the West Indies in Lancashire's first game, and Stuart Broad, who didn't go to the West Indies, didn't play in Nottinghamshire's first game.
It does seem.
It's just ludicrous. Can you imagine the FA turning around and saying to Manchester City, you can't play your best players because England have got a match next week and we want them fresh for that? Have a word.
Yes, it wouldn't happen, would it? Luckmal is on his way again. Bowls and forward comes Haynes to a ball of good length. Plays it back. This is a good over from Luckmal. He's right on the money here. And he's really bending his back. He's in his 7th over. 3 maiden so far, 0 for 13.
Hasn't conceded a run since he came back from the racecourse, and this is his 3rd over. And he's yet to concede a run.
He's posing 1 or 2 questions here. Looks up towards the media centre. Tall, strongly built man, isn't he? He just wheels around. Number 82 on his back. Coming into bowl to the Sussex skipper, Tom Haynes. And Haynes, that comes off the thigh pad or the pad, and it runs away for 4 runs. And Sussex will gleefully accept anything that's on offer. So 4 more to the total, but again, Luckmal doesn't concede a run. The total goes to 68 without loss. at the end of the over, or on 18, Haynes on 45, Lackmell 7 overs, 4 maidens, no wicket for 13.
We can add Bangkok to our list of
good.
countries and well, that's not a country. I know that before anybody else sends a message in. But yeah, we've got Dr. Paul Mason, who says he's tuned in on the live stream from Bangkok as always. Then he goes on to say some very nice things and some interesting things about how he's looking forward to me and Martin Emerson working together again. I can't even say it. Working together again. That's what I'm trying to say. By the way, do you think Matt Critchley and Finn Hudson-Prentice might have stayed at Derbyshire given the arrival of Mickey Arthur? I don't think Finn Hudson-Prentice would have done, because he moved mainly to be back down at home, nearer to his family and that kind of things. And entirely understandable. Morning, Finn, if you're listening. As Dal begins a new over, it's defended by Orr. The first delivery out into the offside. There's no run. Matt Critchley, a different kettle of fish altogether, I think, potentially. I mean, he's moved to Essex with the hope of winning things and forcing his way into the England reckoning, and I don't think in the short term he was going to win anything or force his way into the England team. It's very difficult to force your way into the England team at Derbyshire because the selectors never come to Derby. I think they've got a map without Derby on it. This one is wide of the off stump from Anuj Dal. We saw James What's-His-Face once, and that was it. No, the other one, the little one. From
Taylor.
Yes, that's him. We saw him once when he was here, during his tenure as one of the selectors, but we don't see anybody here. They don't come to Derby.
Well, I think there was a feeling, and it's interesting about second and first division. I'll come back to in a minute, Fletch.
Dahl's next delivery is pushed out into the offside. Backward of square, there's a tumbling attempt to stop it by Lears Deploy. He doesn't make any contact with the ball. They go through for a single, all moves to 1969 for no wicket.
And it's not through rose-tinted specs, but I think there's certainly been a feeling. And actually, my feeling from the commentary box, watching Ollie Robinson over the last 3 seasons, I was staggered that it took so long for Ollie Robinson to make a breakthrough into the England side. I mean, he was taking stacks of wickets, bowling beautifully. And you did hear around people saying, yeah, it's in second division.
Yeah,
I don't think that helped Ollie, to be honest.
No, couldn't agree more. Dahl bowls, he's driven out to the cover boundary by Haynes. He's only going to get a single for it. It made too good a contact, really. And it flew to along the floor to Lewis Rees. 70 for no wicket.
So if you read the press, it seemed that Robert Key is going to come in as what? I've slightly lost track of who does what now. Or what
he's going to be the Andrew Strauss, isn't he? I think, isn't he?
Well, I don't know.
I think Strauss is only doing it next deliveries, turning to the leg side. I don't really know. I don't know why you mentioned that. Really, I'm sure he's going to be Andrew Strauss. So they need a chairman of the ECB, don't they? They need a selector, they need a coach, and they need a captain.
So does that mean if you're looking at a structure that Rob Key is sort of like, if it was a company like, he's the CEO, is he?
I think so,
he's
yes.
the boss, but he would report presumably to a chairman, whoever that's.
Well, the board of the ECB is made up of the chairman of the 18 counties, isn't it?
Right, okay.
And they elect the chairman, but I don't think they know what they're doing. This one's played and missed out by Orr. It's quite an expansive looking drive. Might just have moved a little away off the pitch, and it went through the Brook Guest. That's about as good a delivery as we've seen from the seamers this morning. Orr survives. He has 19. Haynes has 46. 70 without loss. Sussex trail by 261.
So that would seem the first thing that's in place. And presumably once Key is in situ, if it is going to be him, then these appointments follow. But it's not ideal timing, is it? When we're now halfway through April, the cricket season is underway. There's no coach, there's no captain.
Somebody asked me yesterday and said, "Oh, has Joe Root resigned or was he sacked?" There was nobody to sack him.
Yeah. The press have gone big, haven't they? I saw Michael Vaughan writing in the Telegraph yesterday saying that it has to be Ben Stokes.
No, oh dear.
Do you know? This is. But I've said after this delivery from is it me or is it you?
It's you, yeah.
It's Lackmell running away from us, comes running in and bowls to Tom Haynes, who clips this to mid wicket, and there is no run. This may be slightly controversial, but I was a great believer. You go back to Mike Brearley's time. Now, Mike Brearley may not have warranted his place in the England side as an opening batsman, but he did okay. What he did bring was captaining Nous to the side. Now, I don't know if I'm trying to think who is English, who perhaps wouldn't be perhaps in the top 11, but actually he's a good captain. And I think a good captain is worth his weight in gold. And I'm just trying to look around and think who could come in, a really type of character, who could galvanise this group of players. In comes Lackmell, over the wicket, bowls, and forward comes Hind, plays into the offside in their own. You're looking at me like you don't agree, Fletcher.
No, I do, because the name that I heard was Sam Billings.
Right.
Who isn't necessarily going to get in the England side. Well, he clearly isn't, because he hasn't. He's been messed around for years and years and years, hasn't he? Drove halfway around Australia just to get his first Test cap in the Ashes series, and then didn't go to the... it makes no sense. But he's obviously skippered Kent. But we're looking at the two longest serving captains in county cricket are James Vince, who's sort of been in and out, and Billy Godalming. And that will be something. I can tell you.
In comes Lackmell, over the wicket, bowls, cut away by Haynes, and that's going to be a half century for Tom Haynes. Cut away beautifully off of the back foot. That's a lovely shot by the Sussex skipper, and takes him to a half century, and Sussex making a much better fist of things second time around. 74 without loss. Generous applause around the county ground. And Tom Haynes, the leading run scorer in the county championship last season, he started this season in fine fettle as well. A half century last week against Nottinghamshire, a half century here today, and Haynes is leading from the front.
He's batted beautifully, hasn't he? Beautifully. He batted nicely in the first innings. Derbyshire have just got to remember there was 62 without loss. No panic yet, but they could do with the wicket. I've got an update in a couple of minutes, Adrian, so I'm going to nick off them. The next voice you hear from this microphone will be Grace's.
In comes Lackmell bowls, and Haynes is forward, plays down the offside, and there is no run. A name that I had seen, and perhaps a bit of a name that was sure on everybody's lips, was Stuart Broad, who would justify his place in the side. If you're looking at an experienced professional, I mean, do you really want to burden Ben Stokes, who's arguably the best all-rounder in the world, with the captaincy of England as well? So who knows? But much to be discussed in English cricket. Meanwhile, here at Derby, Sussex are 74 without loss. Here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Derby. Lackmell runs away from us. He comes into bowl to Tom Haynes, and Haynes is solidly forward with his back close to his pad. Plays out in the offside, and there is no run. Teddy in Hove has been in touch. Hello, Teddy. He says, good afternoon, guys. Enjoying the commentary. Second game in. Think already a glaring weakness in the form of a strike bowler needed. Batting-wise, plenty of promise and hope. The overseas players solidify and add quality to stop the collapses down the order, says Teddy. Thanks for getting in touch, Teddy. I've said a few times, it's not for me to make a case for the defence in terms of Sussex. That being said, it's an observation as in comes, and fact, as in comes Lackmell bowls, and Haynes is forward, plays to mid-on. There is no run. End of the over. And Sussex are 74 without loss, all 19. Haynes is on 50. Lackmell 8 overs, 4 maidens. No wicket for 17.
Haynes 50 came from 67 balls and included 8 fours.
There we are. There's the statistics of Tom Haynes' innings. It gets greeted with a ripple of applause around the county ground. But it is a matter of fact, Teddy, that the Sussex attack, for reasons of injury and personal reasons, Sussex have been shorn in this game of Robinson, Garton, Hudson Prentice and the off-spin of Jack Carson. And I think if you were to put those 4 players in this Sussex side, Derbyshire may well have got 505, but I don't think they'll have got them as quickly as they did. And they may not reach 505. So I think there is mitigation for Sussex. Nonetheless, I think there was no mitigation in respect of the batting performance, which was on a good pitch, a pretty miserable performance. In comes Dahl, bowls to Alior, who lets that go outside of the off stump, taken by Brooke Guest, and there is no run. He's one of these bowlers, Anuj Dahl, who just looks like he might take a wicket all the time. He's just nibbling away at the batsman. Interestingly, Brooke Guest was standing up to the stumps yesterday, but not today. I always feel when you've got a keeper standing up to the stumps and breathing down the batsman's neck, that causes problems. In comes Dahl bowls, all is forward, plays to mid-on, there is no run. It just means the batsman can't get down the track at all. He's very mindful of being stumped. Jamie Atkins, the young Sussex quick bowler, making his way around the boundary. He's been for a net. He went over to the nets. I reckon, a good hour ago. So he's had a bit of a session in the nets. He's talking to Matt Spence, who's the fitness coach, wandering around the boundaries. Dahl is in, bowls to Orr, who's forward and plays to mid-wicket. And there is no run, fielded there by Shan Masood. I'll give you the other scores around the country in a few moments' time. But we'll do it at the end of this over. Dahl wanders back to his mark. There's a slip. Peer out the commentary box, a slip. No, yes, there is a third man. I'm sorry, slipped third man backward point to cover mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and a deep backward square as Dahl is in around the wicket bowls, or is solidly forward and just plays with soft hands into the offside. And there is no run. A couple more Sussex players wandering around towards the nets. Who is that wandering around? Oh, one is Henry Crocombe. Not sure who the other is. Fletcher's having a break. Let's hope he doesn't snaffle all the food before it arrives at lunchtime. I'm delighted to speak to Grace Ballinger, who's back with us on commentary, as in comes Dahl and bowls or drives into the offside. There is no run. Hi, Grace. Good to see you. Let's just turn that up a shade. As Dahl wanders back to his mum. Sussex making, I think you weren't here yesterday, but Sussex making a good fist of things here, second time around. In comes Dahl and bowls. I think it might be just summing up with your mic, Grace. So just push it a little clearer. If you just chatter away, I wonder if we've got a button that hasn't been pressed. Yeah, it just sounds as if it just sounds a bit distant. So let me just see if we can sort that. We might have to call on the expertise of Dave Fletcher. It is the end of the over, 74 without loss, or on 19. Hind is on 50. Dahl's figures 4 overs, 1 maiden, no wicket, 4-9. We'll just leave the effects mic for a couple of moments' time, but I'm not sure your microphone is on, Grace. Let me just have a quick word to Fletch.
Sam Collins.
Right. Well, we've got Fletcher's coming back in a minute, and I'm sure we'll sort out Gracie's mic. I'm not sure it's working. As in comes Sam Collins running in to bowl to Tom Haynes. Haynes is forward, plays to mid-on, and there is no wicket. So 74 without loss, or 19. Haynes on 50. Just say something else. Say hello, Grace. It's not working. Right. Okay. So I will run through the scores in the other games in the county championship, and Fletch will return. Oh, he is. The man is here, but we think. There we are. He's here. He knows what he's doing. I think we can hear now. In comes Collins, racing in and bowls to Haynes, and Haynes plays backward point. Lovely diving stop by Anuj Dahl. There's no run. So we'll do that again, Grace. Grace is back. And I was just saying, Grace, that Sussex, I know you weren't here yesterday, but making a much better fist of things this morning. And one of the features of Sussex, I think, has been they've been very positive.
Yeah, I think certainly so. I think it's so easy when you've been bowled out for a low score in the first innings to come in, be a bit defensive, but I think you can sometimes get a bit more caught up in that situation, and it's been great to see Tom Haynes just go about his business and play some nice shots.
Connors is in again, bowls, and Haynes is forward, plays into the offside, and there is no run. And Alistair Orr, who he's 19 off 62 balls. I mean, Sussex need to bat a long time here. How difficult is it when you're out there? But he's got Haynes scoring runs freely at one end. Does that take a bit of pressure off Alistair Orr?
Yeah, I certainly think so. I think if you both go out to attacking, it can almost end up just being a bit risky and a bit look like you're not playing the game properly. But it's nice for him just to kind of stay in, kind of bat around Haynes, as you say, and yeah, he's still going nicely.
In comes Connors again, bowls. Haynes solidly forward, placed to mid-off, fielded by Billy Godwin, and there is no run. When you get lovely weather like this and the cricket season is underway, are you chomping at the bit to get out there and start your season, Grace?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been really nice to get out there in the last 2 weeks and play a bit of pre-season, like up in Manchester last week and then in Chelmsford on Thursday. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the competitive season getting going and hope to be a good one for me. Hopefully stay injury-free, which hasn't been the case for a while, but yeah,
Right.
no, excited to get going.
Connors. Wheels round in front of us. Siren wailing in the background somewhere in Derby as in comes Collars and Bowles, and Haynes flicks this nicely down to fine leg. 4 more to Tom Haynes, who does look in imperious form. He goes to 54 and Sussex to 78 without loss. I mean, obviously injuries are always a problem in sport. I mean, and I guess it's the rehab. That's what takes the time and can be quite boring, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it can certainly be frustrating. I had a couple of stress fractures growing up, which a lot of young seam bowlers experience, and you kind of just want to get back out there. But in retrospect, I think it teaches you a lot, and you learn a lot about yourself and your action. And yeah, I haven't had one for the last few years, so hopefully that's all sorted now.
Fingers crossed. In comes Connors, running in over the wicket. Bowles, and Haynes, lovely shot again, clips that through mid-wicket. More runs here for Sussex. That could well run all the way for 4 runs, actually. It's just going to be hauled up inside the boundary. Tom Haynes will come back for his 3rd run. He goes to 57, and Sussex move on to 81 without loss. It is the end of Collars over. 4 overs, no maidens, 0 for 15. One feature here, Grace, has been Billy Godwin, who has sort of juggled his bowlers around. When you look, nobody's more than 8 overs this morning. He's just striving for that breakthrough at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the worst of tactics to start off with. We saw, Alex Thompson, the off-spinner, coming on fairly early doors. But I think now, as the batter decide to settle, you kind of also want your bowlers to settle into a spell. And I'm not sure any of them have been allowed to do that at the moment.
David's been in touch, we were chatting away about the England captain. And he says, I agree, pick a shrewd captain from county cricket. Suggestions, Sam Billings, Stuart Broad, and Stephen Mullaney. And I have to say, I thought Stephen Mullaney skippered excellently for Nottinghamshire last week, in the game against Sussex. Anu Dull is going to carry on from the City end of the ground. He's going to bowl into Tom Haynes. Dull is on his way around the wicket. Bowles, and Haynes works that one down to 3rd man. It should just be a single for Tom Haynes. He goes to 58 and Sussex to 82 without loss. So you're at Loughborough, Grace. You're at university in your 2nd year. What are you studying? You might have had this conversation with Fletcher if you have.
No, I haven't. I'm studying English literature.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of reading to me.
Yeah, I mean, when I chose it, I didn't really think there'd be a lot of reading, which probably wasn't the smartest with English literature, but no, I do enjoy it. It's good, and Loughborough's just such a great campus, facility-wise, for sports especially. It's fantastic.
And comes Darla around the wicket. Bowles, or lets that go outside the off stump. There is no run. So 2nd year, generally at university, the 1st year of university you spend in halls. 2nd year people go out and into houses, that sort of thing. But are you able to remain on the campus?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different at Loughborough with the hall culture, and I personally stay relatively close to my hall because I absolutely loved it at university and got a lot of friends in 1st year and managed to stay involved with that. So yeah, it's really good.
Dahl on his way around the wicket. Bowles let go outside the off stump, and there is no run. There's been so much disruption with COVID. Grace, was that difficult in your 1st year?
I think I was very fortunate in the sense that I was able to train all over lockdown, so I could still go to the gym, still train with the Lightning Girls. So I had a lot more social interaction than most people. But yeah, I think all my classes were online for 1st year, so it was certainly a bit difficult meeting people, but I think it just makes you appreciate things a bit more.
I think you're right.
I think a lot of people can get behind that.
Dahl around the wicket. Bowles, or lets that go outside of the off stump. And there is no run. Yeah, because there were a lot of stories around, weren't they, of students who were virtually having to be sort of locked in their halls because they couldn't go out because of restrictions, that sort of thing. And that's kind of not what the university experience is meant to be all about.
Yeah, no, it was certainly harder to meet people. Loughborough were particularly strict on the restrictions and what have you. But yeah, as I say, it's been such a good year this year, and Yeah, I mean, it meant I got to just focus on my cricket, really.
In comes Dahl running in around the wicket bowls and all straight back down the onside of the track, and there is no run. And did you choose Loughborough because of cricket? Was that one of the sort of the mitigating factors in you deciding where you were going to go?
Yeah, I think I'd always been like based around Loughborough with going to camps and what have you growing up. So I think campus universities just have a really nice feel to it, and yeah, Loughborough's been a really good environment for me in both the cricket and like the social aspect.
In comes Dahl around the wicket bowls, or lets that go outside of the other. So he's got a funny movement with his foot as Alistair Orr when he lets the ball go. He sometimes lifts his foot up, the ball goes through to Brooke Guest. End of the over, 82 without loss, or on 19, Haynes on 58. Grace Ballinger is with me. Delighted to welcome Grace to the commentary box. You were talking, Grace, about when your season starts, and I know you've got some games for Leicester, but really until, and I'm not saying that's not the season proper, until you get into stuff with the line, that's going to be a few more weeks, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, not till mid-May, so lots of pre-season before then. I mean, we've been working pretty hard, playing against a couple of the other teams in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, bit of a late start to the season.
How do you juggle your studies with your cricket?
That's a good question, one that I'm not sure I can answer too well at the moment.
Which one is suffering, Grace?
Definitely the studying point of it.
Oh, funny, you've had an email from your tutor. In comes Sam Collins, racing away from us. 82 without loss, comes in and bowls. Haynes plays to mid-wicket, and there is no run. But I guess that is difficult, is it? I mean, yeah. I think all students, to a degree, would either, it's university. It's meant to be a fun time of life, but
yeah, I think obviously Loughborough are better than most universities at dealing with it, just because of the sheer amount of athletes and sports people that are there. But yeah, I think you've just got to be good with your time management, which I try to be.
She says, laughing. In comes Collins around the wicket bowls. All that short, he really dug that in, the ball ballooned like a tennis ball over the head of Tom Haynes through to Brooke Guest, and there is no run. Do you, and I guess it's coming up to that time of year when either you've got exams coming up or maybe Parish has thought a dissertation or something to write?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite fortunate in the sense that my course doesn't have exams, so that I'm just all coursework and all essays. But
I think I would like that.
I've got a few due in the cricket season, which isn't great.
In comes Connors around the wicket bowls, and Haynes plays to backward point fielded by Dahl. And again, there is no run. Yeah, it's all well and good, isn't it, doing coursework, but I guess the bottom line is you've still got to do it. So you'd have deadlines, and you might have a deadline tomorrow for all I know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's better than a lot of courses, but I think it's quite difficult sometimes, say, when I've got lectures all through a day, but I've got training all on that day.
Yeah.
So, realistically, you just miss the lectures, don't you? But
and you've got to make it up, of course.
Sometimes.
In comes Connors, running around the wicket, bowling to Tom Haynes. And again, there's another short delivery that Haynes ducked underneath comfortably. And there is no run. And it's clearly important for you, not only that you're pursuing a career in cricket as well, Grace, but clearly you're thinking ahead to the future, and juggling a career and hopefully a terrific career in cricket with having had some qualifications behind you for whatever comes in the future.
Yeah, of course. I think cricket is such a sport where you can just have a stroke of luck or you can get injured, and I think it's good to have options, really.
Connors around the wicket bowls. I don't quite understand this tactic from Sam Collins. It's clearly something that Derbyshire have spoken about. He's bowled 3 short deliveries in a row, all of which have looped over the head of Tom Haynes. He has got 2 men out on the leg side boundary, but Haynes just looked like he's just not remotely interested.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess the plan might be trying to get him to play at one with, as you say, the 2 fielders out in the deep, but it just seems like it's sticking in the pitch a bit, and Sam Collins not getting the carry you might like.
One slip in place. Derbyshire without a breakthrough so far today. As in comes Collins bowls, and Haynes is up on his toes and plays into the offside. You probably heard the cry of "wait on" from Tom Haynes. It is the end of the over. Sam Collins has now bowled 5 overs in this second innings. 1 maiden, no wicket for 15. Sussex 82 without loss, or on 19. Haynes on 58. Last week down at Hove, we were delighted to welcome Chloe Brewer, who I think you know, who plays for Surrey and for the South East Stars. Now, Chloe was going out on a trip to Spain this week. So, does anything like that happening with you with pre-season?
Yeah, I did see that on social media. No, we didn't manage to get away this year, unfortunately.
In comes Dahl around the wicket, bowls, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Did he take the back out of the way, Grace, or did he play at that?
I'm not sure. It didn't look confident, did it? It looked like he maybe went to play it, changed his mind last minute, but no. Very good delivery there, just outside of off.
Ali Orr turned around and looked in our direction, almost as if he'd heard me querying whether we'd left the board or not. As if to say, what do you mean I played and missed? Either way, he's still there, and Dahl is on his way from the City End. He bowls, and this time Orr does let that one go outside of the off stump. So we're Chloe and her friends from the South East Stars, bigging it up a bit there out in Spain, where they sort of, and here we are in the sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few of the girls go on tour. Thunder, another one of the teams, also went to Dubai. They went at the same time as Lancashire men, and
wow,
I've got some pretty good friends in that team, and they certainly let me know about it.
Dubai, wonderful. In comes Dahl and bowls outside the off stump again, let go, taken by Guest. I have to say though, because I did say to Chloe, 5 or 6 days in Spain sounded like a one. And it's down. I forget the name of is it Palm Springs? I think
Desert Springs.
Desert Springs. That's it. Yeah. I think Palm Springs is in the States, and when we'd stopped sort of taking the mickey slightly and saying off to Spain, she did say, she was getting picked up at 2 o'clock on Monday morning to get to Gatwick on time to get the plane, as in comes Dahl and bowls, and all drives slightly across the line to mid-wicket, all along the floor, and there is no run. But it did seem like it was really structured. She was saying when they get out there was gym sessions booked in. I think they had a bit of leisure time. They were going on a bike ride, I think. But then it was... I think 2 days of cricket, and I think 4 T20s in those 2 days, I think, was the way it was going to work, Grace.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I think Western Storm are out there as well, another one of the teams in the league.
Yeah. In comes Dahl, bowls, and played down the ground by Alistair Orr, and there is no run. In terms of those sides, I don't know, they've got away, they've all been together. What's how much of an advantage do you think it'll give those sides maybe coming back and starting the season? If any.
I don't think it does give an advantage. Well, obviously I'm going to say that, but I really don't think it does. I think it's just all about spending time together, whether that's overseas or back at home. And yeah, we've had plenty of games to get through.
Comes Dahl and bowls, and Orr plays that on the leg side, picks up a single, and one more to Alistair Orr. He goes to 20, and Sussex to 83 without loss. It's the end of another accurate over from Anuj Dahl, who's bowled 6 overs, 1 maiden. No wicket for 11. I'm just looking through those bowling figures. Grace, Connors as 5 overs for 15, Lackmell 8 for 17, Potts 4 for 21, Thompson 3 for 15, Dahl 6 for 11. No one's really gone around the park here as far as Derby are concerned, and I just wonder whether we might, he's juggled his bowlers around. I just wonder whether we might see a bit of spin before lunch.
Yeah, I think I'd certainly like to see Alex Thompson come back on. As you say, 3 overs, no maidens, 15 runs, but I think he bowled a lot better than this figure suggested. Looks like he was getting a lot of turn and bounce on the ball and had the chance of the day, I'd say, against Ali Orr.
Yeah, Connors runs away from us, comes into bowl to Orr, he's in and bowls, and ducks underneath it as Ali Orr goes through, taken by keeper Guest, and there is no run. There's a question I asked to Chloe last week as to how she got into cricket, and you may well have had this conversation already with Dave, and stop me if you have, but she was talking a lot about how easy it was. She found a club to go to once she'd decided she was interested in cricket, and she found clubs and found the pathway reasonably straightforward. I just wondered whether your experience was the same. As in comes Connors around the wicket, bowls to Orr, and Orr plays into the onside, and they take a comfortable single as the ball goes to mid wicket.
Yeah, no, I spoke about it a little bit with Dave, but it was always relatively simple for me having an older brother that was into cricket, and I was quite a tomboy, played all the kind of what you'd associate with the male-dominated sports growing up. Always just see Alex Thompson warming up, to change the subject quickly. But yeah, I'm from Birmingham, so Warwickshire setup was always absolutely brilliant, and I was at just a club down in Sutton Coldfield, which brought me up quite nicely, and yeah.
And the Birmingham area really strong, isn't it, in terms of cricket, certainly in terms of club cricket?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of good clubs around the area, certainly a lot of inclusion for girls and women as well, which is great. Just
the one slip in place. Billy Godwin's going to make a change. Dave was saying yesterday how the Derbyshire over 8 can be quite slow. They've not been too bad this morning. This is the 27th over. Godalming looks like he's going to make a change, then decides not to. And the field stays as it is with a slip of third man. Point, cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket. 2 men back on the leg side as Collins is racing in bowls to Tom Haynes. Now, that was interesting because that was short as well. I just thought for a moment that Tom Haynes was thinking about pulling that ball, Grace.
Yeah, it looked like it. I mean, Sam Connors is certainly sticking to this plan, and we haven't seen either Ali or Tom Haynes play with it as of yet, but it seems like he's just slightly got his lines and lengths a bit better and making Tom Haynes question a little bit. I think that one might have hit him on the hand.
Yeah, and he has been suffering a little bit with his hand, Tom Haynes. He had a problem yesterday fielding the ball when we think he might have lost a fingernail out in the offside. Here as in comes Connor bowls, and a lovely shot by Tom Haynes. Well, absolutely nothing wrong with his hand there. That was over pitched by Collins. He's bowled a number of short deliveries. Haynes waited for it. Just what was so good about that shot, Grace?
I think not just that shot, but from Tom Haynes' innings in general, I think his timing's just been pretty immaculate from ball one. I mean, I don't think I've seen a lot of Tom Haynes batting before, but really impressed with the way he's going about it and just seems to be capitalising on any sort of width or length he's given.
Well, he goes to 62, only 23 years of age. Tom Haynes, the captaincy at the end of last season, and with Travis Head not coming, he took on that mantle again. It's a lot of responsibility for him, but he's leading from the front here as Collins is in bowls, and a play and a miss. And that wasn't a great shot. You can see what he was looking to do. There's a big gap between a slip and backward point. But that wouldn't, he'd have been furious with himself if he got out to that.
Yeah, it just seemed very out of character, just I was bigging him up. It seemed more like a T20 shot, really, almost trying to clear the infield over to cow corner mid-wicket. But yeah, not a bad ball from Sam Connors, and he'll be encouraged after seeing that, I think.
88 without loss. Connors in again, bowl, short, the ball balloons over Haynes' head, taken by the keeper. There is no run. And if the over 88 without loss, or on 21, Haynes on 62. You're listening to live cricket here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Derby. Myself, Adrian Harms, alongside Grace Ballinger. Interesting, and again, stop me if you've had this conversation with Dave, Grace. The Women's World Cup final recently, which Australia won, although they had 2 or 3 of their top players out injured, and there was a feeling about the depth of women's cricket in this country, and a real opportunity now for people to come through. Is that a feeling that you get that, there's an opportunity now for players to come through, because England don't quite have the depth of Australia have, and that's something that needs to be addressed, over the forthcoming years? Yeah,
certainly so. I mean, the system in Australia just seems very strong. I mean, all of their girls are just superb athletes in every sense of the word, but yeah, I think
Alex Thompson in Sorry, Grace bowls to all right. Taken by the keeper. There is no run.
Yeah, I think certainly with the regional structure coming into play over the last 2 years, and a lot more girls and women being on full-time contracts, being able to play not for England but professional cricket, is certainly great, and standards getting better.
Thompson in again bowls, all forward plays into the onside, and there is no. And there's nothing wrong with England learning from the Australian system, is there? I mean, it's a system that's not just producing good players, but it seems like a production line of good players.
Certainly.
Thompson around the wicket, bowls. Oh, has a little nibble at that outside of the off stump.
Looked like it turned.
I was just going to ask that exact question, and he just pushing forward. I'm sure there's a bit of chatter going on there around the bat as in comes Thompson, bowls, or is forward, plays to mid-wicket. Dahl sort of deflects the ball, goalkeeper style, to mid-off. And there is no run. 88 without loss, or on 21. Haynes on at 62. Comes Thompson again, in and bowls. And, waits, that doesn't play a shot, he's hit on the pad. There's a loud appeal. How close was that, Grace?
I don't know. Alex Thompson looks very disappointed, but might have just been outside, I think.
Dangerous game, not playing a shot.
Yeah, a bit rogue, but at the same time, I'm not sure he would have not played a shot if he thought it was on his stumps.
In comes Thompson again, round the wicket, bowls, or this time does play a shot and he drives down the ground. But an encouraging over from Alex Thompson. It's a maiden over, 4 overs, 1 maiden, no wicket to 450. We've got just time for maybe 2 more overs before. I'm not sure which clock they go by here in terms of the lunch break. There is a clock away to our right-hand side, which shows, I think, 5 to 1. My watch is showing about 3 minutes to 1, but that's always wrong. So.
Yeah.
I was interested, actually. I was asking Chloe last week as well about what the fielders gathered around the back, whether you get how much chat you get in women's cricket. I mean, sledging is something that is, sadly part of the game. Is it something that's in the women's game? I mean, do you get people who are a bit chirpy?
Yeah, I certainly think so. I think some characters more than others. I can name a few in the domestic circuit, but I won't. Yeah, I think it's just part of the game. I love it personally.
Wayne Madsen in. So first time he's bowled, bit of off spin, comes in around the wicket, so we could get 2 more overs in because he does rattle through his overs, which is good in one thing but bad in another because Chloe and I don't get any chance to talk. Here comes Madsen again. Bowls. Hind cuts this firmly down towards the third man boundary. He'll certainly pick up a couple of runs, fielded down in the distance by Shan Masood, who gets in the throw. Tom Haynes goes to 64 off 89 deliveries. Sussex 90 for no wicket. I'm sure actually Derbyshire are just keen here to make sure they don't slip behind the over rate. As in comes Madsen again. They're currently showing us -2. The last thing you want after you've worked hard for points in a championship match is to suddenly lose them through a slow over rate. Madsen in again, bowled, Haynes forward down the track. Picked up by Madsen again off his own bowling. And again, there is no... He's always running back to his mark.
He certainly get through in it very quickly.
Again, bowls, forward comes Haynes again into the offside. Repeat performance fielded by Dahl. I do enjoy this when they get on with it. They clearly want to get another over in here before lunch. Madsen in again, bowls, Haynes forward, plays it back down the offside. I think there will be 1 more over now. So that's good captaincy by Billy Gottleman. And it gives Thompson another over as well, who would be his lead spinner. So you love the chatter?
Yeah, I think it's just part of the game, isn't it? I think maybe growing up playing boys and men's cricket, I was a bit more predisposed to it than other girls. But yeah, I think you've got to, haven't you? I think it's really quite easy to get into a batter's head sometimes. And yeah, it's just...
So maybe growing up with an older brother as well.
Yeah, I've certainly got a lot of chat from my dad and my brother.
Here comes Thompson, bowls to Alior, who flicks this around the corner down to fine leg fielded by Sam Connors. And there is no run. So we're going to get... we've had 29 overs this morning. So we're going to get 30 overs in the session, which is pretty good. As in comes Thompson bowls, gives that plenty of flight, or is forward, played out into the offside, and there is no run.
Thompson going very nicely here, I'd say. Pick of the bowlers, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's bowled very nicely this morning. Figures of, is it his 5th over? 0 for 15. In and bowls, or is forward, plays down the onside, there is no run. So would you have a little word, if you were bowling an over, would you perhaps have a little word to the batsman, Grace? If there was a couple of plays and misses outside the off stump? Or...
Oh, on occasion, yeah. I've got a good story for you, actually, from a couple of days ago.
In comes Thompson bowls, all plays into the offside, no run. Go on.
Just playing a warm-up game, and tell you what, when you get a snick off and the umpire doesn't give it, you've got to give a bit of chat then, haven't you? You've got to spray him a little bit. And it was actually a friend of mine that was batting as well, so even better.
Thompson bowls all down the wicket, there is no run. You're not going to tell us what you said.
Oh,
you can leave out the expletives.
Oh no, nothing too bad of course, but played a second T20 and I got her out again the same way. She got a little bit of a send-off because it actually got given that time.
And that's your friend. He comes Thompson bowls, all plays it down the track, there is no run. It is the end of the over. Now, there's just going to be another over, I think. Or are the bails coming off? The bails are being removed. So there is lunch. And Sussex have negotiated the session. They're 90 without loss. Tom Haynes on 64, Alior on 21. Grace, just give us your thoughts on that session this morning.
Yeah, I think Sussex will be happy with the session, and both of them gone very nicely. At the same time, don't think Derbyshire will be too disheartened. I think they would have liked to get a couple early breakthroughs, but they are still ahead by 241 runs, so a lot to play with when we come in for the second session after lunch.
Well, indeed. We had yesterday evening we were talking, Zach Tomazzi, the former Sussex Chief Exec, was in touch with his pizza oven, and he's showing us today, afternoon aid, it says smoked salmon and scrambled eggs set for the day. He's got his garden and a cup of tea. The beer is probably hidden around the corner. So there's Zach. I'm not sure we're going to get smoked salmon and scrambled eggs here at Derby, but I have to say, the food has been excellent. So lunchtime here at the County Ground. Grace, Dave and I will have a bit of a breather with Sussex 90 without loss at the interval.